Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. And I've just been clearing out my backlog of movies on my watch list in the month of December of 2024. The Great Dictator was actually the first Charlie Chaplin movie that really caught my attention, which is kind of weird considering it's taken me quite a bit of time to get around to it. But yeah, it's very good. I think what really caught my attention initially was just how bold it is, being a satire of Nazi Germany and Hitler, and it came out during World War II, so it's just really bold in that way. But it is just another great movie. Charlie Chaplin's really consistent. His movies, they're always so funny and they're a good time, and it's really surprising just how well he does in this movie with dialogue, because this movie is, fully in sound. And so having spoken dialogue, I wasn't sure how that would do with humor, but he does a great job. There's still like really good physical gags and stuff like that. But then also the dialogue is just really witty and really funny. So I was genuinely impressed with that. And this movie also just has a lot of heart. Like that ending, man. If you've seen this movie, it's great. This is a fantastic movie. And then I watched EO. This is a weird one. I don't remember what initially made me want to watch this, but it's just been on my watch list. So, gave it a watch, and yeah, it's quite good. It just does a great job at showing, love for nature and animals, which is, I feel like that's pretty much this movie's entire purpose. And yeah, they do a great job at it. The cinematography especially really drives that home. Just absolutely some beautiful shots throughout all of this. It's always quite stunning. I found it really interesting just following this donkey, meeting people. I think it was cool getting glimpses into people's lives, but I also felt like there were times when I kind of felt dissatisfied because we get these peeks into these people's lives, but then it's just kind of doesn't really lead to much, I feel like, and I wasn't super satisfied with that a lot of the times, but overall, that didn't affect my enjoyment too much. This is still a really good movie. Man on Wire. This is actually a documentary, which I feel like is why it kind of took me a while to get around to it. I think I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know if, the documentary format will really work for me, if that's really something I'll really be a fan of or anything. But this is quite good. It's about Philippe Petit's tightroping across the Twin Towers. It's a really just interesting story. Like that premise in of itself, like it's like, okay, how can they make a whole documentary about it? But it is really interesting, and I think one of the best parts is just listening to Felipe talk about how passionate about this whole thing he is, and it like that is by far the best. I love hearing about people's passions and their love for stuff, and that's easily the best part of this documentary. It's quite good all around. Everything else is well done, but that specifically, like, I could just listen to him talk all day long. It was just great. And then I watched Z. Now, I really didn't know too much about this movie going into it. I really don't even remember why I wanted to watch it in the first place. It was just so long ago. But it was on my list, gave it a watch, and I was hit with the fact that this was based on a true story. And that's something I didn't know. I kind of wish I knew the historical context better. I feel like I would have really had a lot more appreciation for this movie. Not that you can't appreciate it for what it is without that context, because it is still very well done. It's a very good story, really interesting, and it is just really enthralling. I did find myself confused, and I think that's where the historical context might have helped. They're just bringing in a lot of characters that I don't really know anything about, and I'm really trying to piece it together. But the fact that whenever I was confused, I just want to watch more to try to figure it out really tells you the quality of this movie. The middle section, I think, is where it dips the most in terms of quality and my interest. But it really wasn't too long. I think it just came to a specific part. You might know what I'm talking about, where I was like, okay, I know what's going to happen. It was trying to keep tension, but I knew where it was going. But the start of this movie and the end of this movie is just fantastic. It's a really great movie. La Haine wasn't on my watch list per se, but it's been recommended to me for quite a while, so probably good that I give it a watch. And yeah, it's really good. It's a really pretty crazy film when you think about it, but it does a good job at having some pretty intense themes and just moments in the movie in general, but doing so very, very naturally. end very fluidly because it has lots of just more, I don't know, I guess you could say slice of life moments. The movie follows just three, like, kind of hoodlums, I guess. They're all from different backgrounds, but it's just like just one day, and it's just they're going through their life and crazy events happen, and it's just fascinating to watch. Yeah, again, it has some pretty interesting themes that will really leave you thinking, but at the same time, it's done through very naturally with how well written and natural the characters are. Just because they just feel like guys. They just feel like a couple of dudes hanging out, and they're just really likable. And so, yeah, I think this movie succeeds very well in that. AI, artificial intelligence. This is a somewhat long-awaited rewatch. I've really just thought about rewatching this movie ever since I saw it the first time, just because I loved it so much. It's kind of surprising that I haven't gone back to it sooner, because I would consider it one of my favorite movies of all time. But I only saw it the one time, so I really had to give it the rewatch, and yeah, I still love it. I think it really reaffirmed a lot of the things I really like about this movie. I found it interesting because a lot of times, for me, I really like it when a movie really commits to a really emotional side or a really like intellectual thinking side. I can go either way, but I like it when a movie just really commits to one of those. But AI, artificial intelligence, kind of does both, because I watch it and just the story is just very emotional. It really hits me. But then once I'm done, I can sit there and just really think. It really makes you reflect on a lot of different implications and, things about AI. I like to remove a bit of, the more, modern lens, because I just think about when this was made and sort of what's trying to be portrayed and everything. And it's just really interesting. I think it's a genuinely fascinating movie. I can very well see why it's not for everyone, but I would still recommend it to quite a lot of people, just because it's just a fascinating movie. So you can give it a watch, and I'd like to see more people's thoughts on it. The Apartment is, I guess, my holiday watch. I wasn't planning on it being. I didn't expect it to be. But yeah, this movie does take place around Christmas, so I guess it counts. It's a really fun movie. It's just a completely silly premise. This guy who's giving out his apartment to his bosses so that they can have affairs. It's like an insane premise, but it works really well, and it's pretty just silly and fun. But then it does kind of become a lot more dramatic and emotional and stuff near the end, and I think they make that transition pretty well. It's a good movie. It's not one that I think really hit me hard in any big ways, but I also don't think that was really its intention in any way either. It's a movie that I could just throw on any time, and I know it'd be just a good watch. And then The Hidden Fortress. Pretty much all of Akira Kurosawa's films are on my watch list. They are movies that I wanted to watch them for a long time, and then I finally got around to start watching his stuff. Obviously, I watched a lot around the same time, but then there's still a few stragglers that I need to get around to. And The Hidden Fortress is one of those. It's not one of his most popular films, which I actually find quite surprising, because it feels like a very easy watch, I guess. It feels like a movie that the most amount of people could get behind. I feel like it's a very simple adventure story, and that's not a con of it. That it does it very well at just being a really enjoyable, again, an adventure where you're just hanging out with this silly cast of characters, or some of them are silly, some of them are more serious and well fleshed out characters, and you're just kind of hanging out. It's a good time. There's moments of tension, but it's a pretty fun movie, all things around. It really, it's weird to think of it this way, but it almost feels like the most blockbuster Akira Kurosawa film. I don't know how else to put it. I guess it's just very approachable. And so again, that's why I feel like it's weird that not more people have seen it, because comparing it to something like Seven Samurai, that's like an epic adventure. That thing is, it's a super long movie. It's really hard to get people to watch that, but this is it's nice and simple. I think one of the things is that probably could be shorter if it really wants to be, just a simple, fun adventure. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a good movie. Next up, I watched Prisoners. This is a really intense movie. This is a Denis Villeneuve film. I hope I'm saying that right. I can never say his name right, but he makes some great movies. The Dune movies are obviously great. I watched Arrival a little bit ago, and that was a really solid movie. And this just makes me even more interested in stuff because Prisoners is it's like insane. This movie is 2.5 hours and it just flies by. It's just an enthralling like mystery with so much tension and so much like ethics being thrown at you and you don't know how to think. Again, like the mystery aspect is like I think it's what really brings this movie together because it's able to lead you like perfectly along to the answers and you're figuring it out right once the characters are. Or like there are some things where I might have predicted it a bit earlier, and there are some things where I was maybe like surprised by, but it really works. This movie does a great job at just rewarding you for being attentive because I think a lot of it you can actually piece together if you just pay attention, and so that's just great. And amazing performances. I should say that Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Paul Dano, of course, we know they're great actors, and this might be some of their best performances I've ever seen. It's crazy how many great performances you get out of this movie, and it really works, especially for the more like intense and emotional stuff. It's a brutal movie, and it it doesn't make you feel good because you're just watching just this broken man. He had his daughter taken away from him, and it just kills him, and it brings him to just a really dark place, and it's a brutal watch, which again makes it all the more surprising that it goes by so fast. And I think that's just how incredible of a narrative it is. This movie just does so many things right. It just hits like every single check mark. It's great. The Social Network is actually a movie that I kind of realized that I knew way more about it than I thought I would have. Like, I've heard so much about it, and then watching it, I was like, oh, like, I know where this is going. I know how all this is going to play out, and it played out just how I expected, but it wasn't bad by any means. Just the fact is that I wasn't surprised or shocked by everything. Nothing caught me off guard. It's a really solid movie, all things considered. It's really just interesting. There's not a dull moment throughout the entire thing. There's some like good dialogue and stuff. It's witty, it's a bit funny, and some solid drama. Obviously, with something like this, I feel weird because I'm just like, I don't know how much of this is true, how much of it is just a flat out lie. Obviously, I know it's going to be dramatized, but again, we don't know the full story behind all of this. Obviously, there's assumptions that are going to be made, so I don't know. But that aside, it is just a good movie. And then I watched Shawshank Redemption. How I have not seen this earlier, I've got no clue. It's incredibly famous. Everyone loves it. It's the number one top rated movie on IMDb, which I know like most people who like care about films, they're not really on IMDb that much. But, IMDb is just sort of general audiences. And for something to get super highly rated on there, that's got to be something that like everybody likes. So obviously this was a great movie. It was just a very like simple, pretty straightforward, but it does everything right. It knows what it's trying to do and it does it pretty much flawlessly. It's maybe not something that is personally something I would love. Obviously, I still really liked it, but it's just, I don't know. Saying it's not my style is a weird way to put it because it makes it sound like I didn't like it. It's just not as much my style, I guess. But like that's still I feel like I'm not giving it enough credit. It's a great movie. Autumn Sonata is my third Ingmar Bergman film. I first watched The Seventh Seal, and I absolutely loved that. And then I watched Wild Strawberries. Didn't love it as much, but still thought it was pretty good. But Autumn Sonata is just phenomenal. One of the best, like, just emotional pieces of cinema I've ever seen. It's just really brutal, I almost want to say, but it's also not, because it's very, very beautiful at the same time. The emotions are very well done in the sense that they just really ease you into it, and it's very human. It's just this daughter and this mother, and they talk, they argue, they bring up problems with each other. Just seeing these people who haven't seen each other for several years reconnecting, it feels like it's something anyone can relate to. We all have parents, and so we all kind of have that universal experience that we can relate to. We don't all have children, but that it's just so relatable, and it makes it like so much more emotional than other movies I've seen. And it's simple, but it's incredible. I don't know what else to say about it, but please go watch it. It's an amazing film. And there you have it. That's everything I watched this month to close off the year of 2024. It's just nice to really make sure I clean out my watch list, just because there's those films where it's like, I really want to watch these, but I just for some reason don't get around to them. And that's partly because I try to keep a general theme throughout my videos when I do these monthly watches. I don't know if I'll keep doing that, just because I have realized it is restrictive and I have these movies that I don't end up watching for a long time. So I don't know. I might stop really having a core theme unless it really feels like I should. But anyways, that's everything I have to say. Please tell me your thoughts on these movies in the comments down below. Remember to save the blobfish, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.